From our Statehouse studio in Montgomery, I'm Todd Stacy. Welcome to Capitol Journal. Today was Committee Day in the Alabama Legislature. Wednesdays tend to be when legislation is considered by various committees and when they meet for public hearings, allowing feedback from citizens. It's a key part of the legislative process, and there were several notable committee meetings today. We'll start in the Senate Banking and Insurance Committee, where lawmakers are considering legislation that would regulate and tax pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs. PBMs are the intermediaries between pharmacists, health insurance companies, and drug manufacturers. The idea is that pooling resources on drug price negotiations helps keep costs low for consumers. But many local pharmacies say PBMs are making it hard to stay in business because of the rates they set. Two similar bills would tighten regulations on PBMs and charge a fee on filling prescriptions to help pharmacies recoup their costs. Senate Bill 93 from Senator Andrew Jones would stop PBMs from reimbursing pharmacies at rates lower than what it costs them to buy the medication. It also allows pharmacies to refuse to fill prescriptions if they lose money on them. Senate Bill 99 from Senator Larry Stutz takes a similar approach, focusing on PBM's role in drug insurance benefits. But opponents of these bills say they're just going to drive up costs for customers at a time when drug prices are already high.
It's going to drive down overall drug costs because you can have generic substitutions that the PBMs are currently not allowing on their formulary. And number two, the Senate Bill 99 mandates that any rebates go back to the consumer. And so every other state, it has saved healthcare costs. Like I said at the end of my statement there, the state of West Virginia estimates they save $50 million a year in state money. Kentucky says $100 million, and they have bills almost exactly like the one we're passing.
I know Bobby Giles with the Pharmacy Association in Alabama has met with folks on the other side. We continue to and try to find a middle ground. As I said at the very beginning, my goal is to have the strongest bill possible that can actually pass and get to the governor's desk.
I looked at just one specific drug last month and I spent $81,000 on one drug, of course multiple prescriptions for that, and I got a profit of $71. That doesn't cover my staff. It doesn't cover the dispensing, like the transaction fees. We have to pay to receive a prescription for you. You know, if it comes electronically, we have to pay to send a request to your doctor. We have to work our time. We have labels. We have all the overhead that all other businesses do, and we just want what's fair.
The Department of Insurance needs more enforcement authority. Obviously, to the extent that we passed laws in the past, we think those laws should be enforced. And I think there's a way to work with the department to make sure that the laws that have been passed by the state of Alabama, by the legislature, are enforced here. So there's some things that we really do agree with the pharmacies on, and we'd like to work with them to make sure that we put those things in place.
No vote was taken on either of the bills. The Senate Banking and Insurance Committee is scheduled to meet again next week. On to the House Ways and Means General Fund Committee, where lawmakers took up legislation regarding children's health insurance and Medicaid. House Bill 177 from Representative Ben Robbins would require parents who have health insurance through their work to add their children to their plans instead of enrolling them in Medicaid.
What my bill is it's about Medicaid, and what it's going to do is say that if you are a parent that has employer-provided insurance, you need to put your child on your insurance and not have them on Medicaid. If you end up in a whether it be domestic relations or a custody court, as long as a judge has authority over you, that judge can enter an order that you must put your child on your private insurance and take them off Medicaid.
I believe, based on the way it is drafted, I've sent it to 5 different national experts who work on health law, Medicaid policy. They had different interpretations of what it would do. The current income limits for the household of children on Medicaid is under $40,000 a year for a family of 3. That could be a single parent with 2 kids. Under $30,000 a year for a family of 2. So usually the parent in that household cannot afford their own health insurance. I would simply ask that we make sure that this bill does not cause tens of thousands of Alabama kids to lose their health insurance. And we would have questions about how it would be enforced.
That bill was advanced by the committee and now goes to the full House. A key part of the Safe Alabama crime package was up in the House Judiciary Committee today. House Bill 202 from Representative Rex Reynolds would significantly expand legal protections for law enforcement officers. Supporters say it is a critical tool to help recruit and retain more police officers amid the current shortage. But Democrats have concerns about how far those protections should go.
HB 202 establishes a new form of legal protection for Alabama law enforcement, a show of support that helps recruit and retain our officers. This bill would provide for a law enforcement officer is justified in and immune from criminal prosecution for use of force against a person in the performance of conduct within his or her discretionary authority unless the use of force violates the person's constitutional right to be free from that excessive force.
No vote was taken on that bill, and a new version addressing some concerns is expected to drop soon. Also in the House Judiciary Committee, legislation to regulate the flying of drones. House Bill 201 from Representative Cynthia Allman would prohibit the flying of drones within 500 feet of a public school. There is already a prohibition of flying drones near prisons, and Allman says schools also need that protection, especially with their ability to photograph, video, and even carry objects. No vote was taken on the bill, but it did generate some discussion.
Basically, we currently have in place a law that you can't fly drones over correctional facilities. I believe we did that last year. This adds to that you can't fly drones over schools, K through 12 public schools. And the idea here is twofold. It's really public safety primarily of our children in the schools, whether they're out on the playground, primarily that, or if it's some sort of drone that is, heaven forbid, carrying some sort of weapons. You know, obviously a law is not going to keep somebody from doing something terrible. They do it anyway, but we do want a law in the books that says you can't do it.
Immigration continues to be a big topic of the session. Today, the House Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee took up legislation dealing with immigration law enforcement and the detention of illegal immigrants. House Bill 7 from Representative Ernie Yarbrough would establish a process for state and local law enforcement agencies to enter into agreements with federal agencies to coordinate enforcement actions. It would also require county and municipal jails to honor detention requests from the feds and require state and local law enforcement to maintain any information about the legal status of someone they detain.
This is HB 7, the Lake and Riley Act. As you know, we worked with several members in the committee, took amendments last session. I've had the privilege to receive the encouragement and support of the Speaker as well, working with AG and DAs, and hence the amendment. And very simply, it gives the ability in a more formal way for state and local law enforcement to work with the federal government in a guided and structured way to enforce existing immigration laws. And that's the same bill before you as last session.
That bill advanced through committee and now goes to the full House. There are several immigration bills on the move this session. Senate Bill 63 from Senator Lance Bell also passed that committee today. It would require state and local law enforcement to take fingerprints and DNA samples of anyone they detain who is in the country illegally. That bill now goes to the full House and could see final passage soon. Other bills being introduced and starting the legislative process. House Bill 302 from Representative Ben Robbins, which would require labor brokers who employ more than 5 foreign workers to register through E-Verify. House Bill 304 from Representative Jamie Keel would authorize the impoundment of vehicles of those operating illegally and without a driver's license. House Bill 3 from Representative Chip Brown would mandate enhanced criminal penalties for anyone here illegally who is convicted of felonies against minors. House Bill 297 from Representative Jennifer Fidler would place a 4% fee on any foreign wire transfers. And House Bill 298 from Representative Brock Colvin would exclude English language learner students who don't participate in sports from being counted toward a school's athletic classification. We'll be following all these bills and more throughout the session. Yesterday, the House gave final passage to legislation establishing a Veterans Resource Center that will offer assistance to veterans on a variety of issues, including job placement and connecting to counseling. Today, legislative leaders and those from the private sector celebrated the bill's passage and said it will be a game changer for veterans once operational.
Alabama is home to almost 400,000 veterans. We take pride in being one of the most military and veteran-friendly states in America. We made big strides in improving veterans' quality of life, especially when it comes to mental health and tackling high unemployment. The Alabama Veterans Resource Center is all about helping veterans successfully transact from military to civil life. These brave men and women have been so sacrificial to the service of our country and protecting the people of this country. And I think it's our responsibility to serve them in the best way we can.
When veterans are in crisis or in need of service, the last thing they should have to worry about is navigating the maze of state government. That's why creating a one-stop shop where veterans can access job training, mental health and wellness care, and other services that are going to help them transition to civilian life. Our veterans need someone fighting for them. Everybody up here is doing that because our veterans fought for us.
There's 16.4 million veterans in the United States, and every 90 minutes one of them takes their life. We have to do something about that. We have a disproportionate amount of homelessness, poverty, and just so many different issues that we have both the opportunity and the responsibility to address. And so with actions like today, you've heard the number of 400,000 veterans living in this state. That's fourth per capita in the United States. They come here for a reason. And so what we wanted to do with this Alabama Resource Center is to create a hub so that the people who have fought and served for our country and for us, that during a very difficult time of transition, that what we can do is we can assist with that into their civilian life.
And we'll be right back with tonight's guest.
You can watch past episodes of Capital Journal online at video.aptv.org. Capital Journal episodes are also available on APTV's free mobile app. You can also connect with Capital Journal and link to past episodes on Capital Journal's Facebook page. And you can listen to past episodes of Capital Journal when you're driving or on the go with Capital Journal podcasts. Keep up with what's happening with Capital Journal.
Rosa Parks is one of the most enduring symbols of the American civil rights era of the mid-20th century. She was active in the Montgomery chapter of the NAACP, serving as its field secretary. Although she was not the first black woman in Montgomery to be arrested for doing so, her 1955 arrest for violating the segregation ordinance by refusing to give up her bus seat to a white man triggered a 382-day boycott of Montgomery city buses and prompted a challenge of the ordinance's constitutionality in federal court. In December 1956, after the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed a district court ruling against segregation, Parks took a symbolic victory ride near the front of a city bus. Parks continued to work for civil rights causes throughout her life and was awarded the nation's highest honors for her role in the movement.
Welcome back to Capital Journal. Joining me next is Gordon Stone, Executive Director of the Higher Education Partnership. Gordon, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Todd. It's always fun to see somebody who I've had the privilege of working with for a long time. Thank you for what you do to keep us informed.
Well, I appreciate that. And look, the timing is appropriate. Tomorrow is Higher Ed Day. We look forward to this every year as students from across the state descend on the Statehouse It's a big deal. We'll get to that in a minute, but can you remind our audience about the Higher Ed Partnership, its origins, and what it does?
Absolutely. So for 28 years, the Higher Education Partnership has served as the grassroots voice for Alabama's 14 public universities. You know, we have universities located in every region of our state. We have 2 major flagship universities, 2 public hospitals. We have land grant work that we do all across the state. We're in every county of Alabama with some type of program. And we represent the voice of the people, the students who populate our campuses, who are striving to get those degrees and make a difference in our state, the faculty who are researching and teaching and building the minds of those students, the administrators, the alums. We are the grassroots entity that comes together and gives them a place. So we have lots of subgroups, student groups and faculty groups and alumni groups that we work on various issues, from how do we retain our graduates to how do we make sure we have proper funding to keep our economic engines running at full speed.
Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing we're going to hear some of those talking points tomorrow at Higher Ed Day. It's always something to look forward to because it's not every day that the building is, has a ton of young college students and everything, and good barbecue and things like that, a rally and a parade and all that. But talk about how Higher Ed Day came about and what we can expect tomorrow.
Well, one of the things that we recognize sometimes is that policy can be a little impersonal if we aren't careful. And so the Higher Education Partnership decided in its earliest days to reach out and make sure that those who are making decisions understand that they're impacting lives. And we believe that our public universities change lives, and therefore the change that we do is worth supporting. But the best way to do that, to share that story, is to get the people here whose lives are being impacted. So it's about storytelling. How do we tell our story the best? We bring those who are impacted and those who are making the story real down here and give them a chance to tell it one-on-one to their legislators. So the best thing we could do to make that happen was to capture a little bit of the festive fun of a university experience. So we have a parade, we have a rally, and we sign pledge cards, but also to have a lunch where we have sit-down conversations between our institutional representatives and those elected officials. We'll have about 1,000 people here, and they'll be from all 14 campuses. Each campus will bring approximately a bus load, and it'll be a full day. It'll be a fun day. I think our colleagues that work here in the legislative system, legislative offices, the elected officials, and the staff, they love Higher Ed Day because it's full of energy, as you said. But it's really, for us, it's about telling those stories of why these people chose to invest their time, their energy, their resources in this public university experience, and how they're going to use it to make a difference.
My recollection of Higher Ed Day from college was a lot about funding, a lot about asking the legislature for parity in funding as compared to K through 12 and all that. Is there parity now? Is that part of the conversation, or are y'all seeking more, a bigger piece of the pie?
Well, when you do some comparative analysis, you'll see that we're still below the regional average in how much we fund per student on our public university campuses. So the conversation about funding is always important because access is a critical issue. When we don't have a statewide scholarship program that allows every kid in Alabama who makes a certain grade to attend a four-year university, then we have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to get the appropriate message across, that we want to keep access real, because in the end of the day, most of the jobs that are coming, about 40% of the jobs coming in the next decade, are going to require at least a four-year degree. And we've been very fortunate in Alabama. Our unemployment is down, our job creation is up, but we've also got a whole sector of the economy that's out there that we still can capitalize on. One of the telltale statistics, Todd, is that we have 28% of our working population with four-year degrees. On average, across the nation, it's 37%. So when our job recruiters are out looking for the jobs to bring to Alabama, they sometimes have to match the job with the workforce. And if we can increase that four-year number, that percentage, then we'll be able to go after jobs that have higher return. We're 48th in the nation in per capita income. We think we can do better by creating more of those knowledge-based jobs. We think we will do better, and making the case that better funding creates more accessibility, gets more young people engaged. We think it's important. So yes, we will talk about funding.
I want to talk about that workforce thing because that has really been a big buzzword the last 4 or 5 years here in the Statehouse, as the legislature, the governor, really most of state government has tried to address this workforce participation rate. It was really the biggest thing last year, the big package of bills, but a lot of that's focused not on four-year, but on dual enrollment, two-year college, job training, basically. There, like I said, a lot of focus on that, but maybe left out of that conversation sometimes is higher education and the jobs that come with that. Am I sensing something there?
Well, I think it's important that we recognize that we need to be expanding our vocabulary when we talk about workforce, and we need to define workforce training in a way that is inclusive of all the kinds of jobs that we can train people for. So what we try to advocate for is that when you have career counselors or you have coaches in schools, to make sure that they allow individuals to express what their dreams are, what are their goals, what are their passions, and show them that there's a way for those to be pursued in Alabama. It's not always going to be at a 4-year degree level, but we think a lot of our young people, if they know they can, will pursue 4-year degrees. But we have to communicate that. So we need to make sure that we're defining workforce in a way that gives people the full spectrum of opportunity that really is out there. I think dual enrollment's a great example. We're working with our colleagues at the 2-year colleges right now to make sure that the new mandate for dual enrollment in high schools is inclusive of both 2-year and 4-year opportunities. Not that we want to pick for the young person, that's their choice. Mm-hmm. But we want to make sure the young person knows what the whole horizon looks like so they can pick what fits them best.
Well, sometimes that is a path, right? Starting in a 2-year and going to,
well, that is
plenty
a path.
Of people that done that.
That is a path, but we also have a lot of our 4-year schools that are right there involved in high schools offering those dual enrollment opportunities also. So I think we just have to make sure that when we talk about it and when we express the opportunities, that we do it in a way that's inclusive of all the choices that our young people really have. Most individuals in Alabama who want to get a 4-year degree can find a way through one of our 14 public universities. But sometimes they don't know that. So what we're trying to do is make sure that as we're focusing our energies on workforce, that's fine. I'm honored the governor appointed me to serve on the state workforce board, and that's a real privilege. But my message to my fellow board members is, let's define it in its broadest sense, because we've got to have the ability to address health care. We have to have the ability to finance and capitalize on all these projects. We've got to be involved in technology industries. We've got to understand that when you create knowledge-based jobs, you bring wealth to your community that's reinvested many times over in quality of life programming.
I wanted to get to that too, because we've been covering a lot from the Innovate Alabama effort. We actually did a whole show from up there, the Innovate Awards. Y'all were honored with one.
Yes, we're very pleased.
It strikes me, they first of all, this is kind of new territory, at least in terms of the organization and everything. But they talk a lot about, like you said, retaining the talent that we produce from our 4-year institutions, which has been a challenge over the years, but also the research that happens at our 4-year institutions, the innovation, that it can be an attracting factor for folks outside of the state to actually move here. So talk about the economics of that.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we're very proud of the fact that we have a $20+ billion economic impact every year in the state of Alabama. 12 counties where we're located are the counties where we have the most economic energy spending in the state of Alabama. And those campus communities provide so many quality of life amenities that go along with that good economy that it is really an attractive place to choose to live and raise a family and have a full life. What we have to do, though, is we have to make sure that our young people know that, and people outside of our state know that. So one of the things that Innovate Alabama has done is they've invested resources in programs like we're working on with the Higher Education Partnership, and that is bringing our young people to the table, having them talk about what it is that they look for when they think about, I graduate, I'm going to pick my next location. What is it that they want to see at that next location? So we're really excited about working with Innovate Alabama, and so a lot of their programs are technology-based, some are natural resource-based, but they're all designed for the same purpose, and that is to say, we want to be a place where no matter what your talent level is, what your goals are, we'd love to have you in Alabama. And we know that Alabama can be the place where solutions are found, problems are addressed, and opportunities are created. And our universities do that every day. They find solutions to challenges that then ultimately shape our lives for years to come.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. We look forward to Higher Ed Day tomorrow. I mean, I'll attend as much as I can, but I know I'll hear it.
Yes, it'll be a fun day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good luck. And
well, when we invite people to come on over, the parade starts at 10:30 over by Crampton Bowl, and that's a great way to experience the event. Just be a part of the parade route. Cheer on the mascots, cheer on the band, cheer on these students who are here telling their stories. We'll do a pledge board signing with all 14 universities signing a pledge board saying we want to work together to make Alabama the best it can be.
Well said. Higher Ed Day tomorrow. Thanks again, Gordon.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back.
You can watch past episodes of Capital Journal online anytime at Alabama Public Television's website, aptv.org. Click on the Online Video tab on the main page. You can also connect with Capital Journal and link to past episodes on Capital Journal's Facebook page.
The World War II-era Tuskegee Airmen were the first African-American pilots in U.S. military service. Because Tuskegee was the only training facility for black pilots in the United States during World War II, potential pilots came from all over the country. The first African-American flying unit was the 99th Fighter Squadron, which deployed in the spring of 1943. The 99th earned a Distinguished Unit Citation, flying missions against enemy targets over Italy. The second flying unit, the 332nd Fighter Group, flew several successful bomber escort missions throughout the war. Its P-51 fighters had distinctively painted red tails, earning the unit and its planes the nickname Red Tails. In 1948, President Truman issued an executive order mandating the racial integration of all military services. The way was paved by the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II, and in 2007, President Bush collectively awarded them a Congressional Gold Medal.
That's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night at the same time, right here on Alabama Public Television. For our Capital Journal team, I'm Todd Stacy. We'll see you next time.